must stay strong. I'm not tripping on all of these rumors that don't bother me, and I'm not paying attention to these haters that don't bother me. But what blows me is when certain people turn phony. They say Baba got your back, rob you the man, but they really doubt me. Bitch, you know who you are. Bitch, I bought you a car. Bitch, you stayed in my crib. I love you with all my heart. I don't like to brag when it comes to me, but I give it back to the community, from the non-profits to the charities. But of course you'll never hear that about me. To them niggas that drink my liquor, smoke my stogies. How come you ain't on Facebook checking up for me? You're around me most of the way, and you know that I'm a good brother. Always got your hands out, it ain't no doubt that y'all niggas ain't nothing but bloodsuckers. Cause y'all ain't bringing nothing to the table. Yeah, nigga, and you know it's real talk. Taking pictures with me for your Instagram, but when I need you, you quick to get lost. Can't find you. Robert Ken, Joanne, my kids, what you hear I hear about that? Guys, I'm sorry for this. I'm so sorry, I can't imagine what y'all must be going through. Every day it's something about me, my God, it must be killing you. I promise there'll be better days. Just keep walking straight. I know you must be worried, but just know that I'm okay. For me things has gotten rough. Right now I can't say too much, but for y'all I will stay tall. Daddy just needs y'all to trust and believe in me. I admit that I've told the truth. You still not free, still won't hate me, you still won't stone me, still won't chain me, you won't kill me. I admit it, I made it, I admit it, I did it, I admit it, I did, I admit it, I did it. Son, where'd you find this? No disrespect to Chi-Town, my home, but we've got a lot of surplus our own. I admit that my heart cries for my city, cause we're losing our lives in the city. Instead of judging me, y'all should be using me to help these kids release them out of depression and poverty. Now I'm not saying I'm no savior, but I could be an inspiration. This is an invitation. Man, I admit I go through so much day to day. Got 23 lawyers, 3 or 4 managers. What am I doing? Show me the way. The only thing I have left is my voice, and now I have to use it for my protection, because they left me no choice. See, my work has nothing to do with my private life, so stay the fuck out of my business and tend to your own damn life. So go ahead, say what you wanna say about who I wanna be, but you won't say that shit to my face, cause you know it ain't shit to say. Next nigga bring me some dumb shit, it's gonna be a misunderstanding, cause niggas they listen to dumb shit. My niggas they be on that dumb shit. They need a line cause they ain't got no life, so they always caught you in a dumb shit. Locked in my path, they don't know the half and soft, they making assumptions. Just making assumptions. Cross a man his whole career, found guilty when you're innocent, is the only test I fear. It was wrong.
with the say go. There you go again, that voice is watch you make your girlfriend go. Come on, come on, come on. You've been waiting patiently, wondering when and where I be. The cousin ruckus in the industry, making this so she can't sleep.
What up, y'all? What up, 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 what up? 10 minutes late. I tried. But I got the cooking and everything, but say hey. Look, we gonna get into it. What up, Dream Team? Hey, Nikki M. Miss Bougie, Willie, A.L. Sterling, Miss Bisbee, Miss Lady T, Debo, Miss Hot Pink. Everybody that I miss. Oh, Coco with the K. Sunshine, Linda, Michelle, B.Y. Grandma Jenna, Ruby Johnson. How you been? Love yourself. How you doing? And how you been? And how you doing? How you doing? And how you been? All right. And we going to get into it. We ain't going to play no game with these boys. We ain't going to play with these boys no more. So, I read y'all the first. Check something. Real quick. Y'all got me checking this thing like Jesus done came back. Let's see. Only thing I have left is my voice. And that's what I'll use now. Cause y'all left me no choice. Don't forget the battle this week, y'all. The Dream Team versus the Enterprise. It's gonna be the Dream Team versus the Enterprise. Don't forget. Okay, nothing else came up. It's gonna be the Dream Team versus the Enterprise. Myself versus T Baby. That's gonna be a great battle. I know T Baby gonna show up and show out. It's gonna be a great battle, and I'm coming to do the same thing. So hey, don't forget over on Atmos Love page, T Baby will be there to show up and show out. It's gonna be right. It's gonna be live. Get all your highs out. Get all your highs out now. For the 5 people that giving me the dislikes, I thank you anyway. You know what I'm saying? Georgia girl, hey, Miss Shirley, hey, I know that's how y'all feel. Y'all like, he's back online. Oh my God, we can't compete with this. He's back online. But look, for the 6 people, hey, I like you too. Thank you, 6 people that don't like me. I mean, hey, I gotta make it bigger now. Thank you for your view. 57 people watching, 37 people. So that means there's 20 people who ain't hit the like or the dislike. So I need y'all to hit the like button if y'all like me. If y'all hate me, hit the dislike button. Either way, I'm getting your view. But I want y'all to say, but I want to say thank you to you either way. You know what I'm saying? To the 8 people, okay, 33 people, and then 8 people. That's what's up. 64, 33, 8. Okay, it's cool. That's how I look at it. Thank y'all for the ones that don't like me. So while you don't like me, just sit back and take notes because I know you want to come with the commentary. So therefore, sit back, take notes, and listen to what I'm saying. So that way you can go to your pages or you can go to your leaders and you can tell them exactly what's going on and they can duplicate DanaJay show. All right? So hey, this is how we're going to rock with it. Thank you so much. I love everybody, even the people who don't like me. You don't know me not to like me. So hey, it is what it is. If you're a Laker fan, today is the day that you need to shout because we will have the trophy next year. Most of the banana boat is here with the Lakers, and we good. We fine. All right. Got all that out the way. Anybody that got birthdays, oh my God, Lord have mercy. People funny as hell. But for anybody that got birthdays this month, happy birthday to everybody. For the ones who got a birthday today, like my sis, Miss Bougie, we want to say happy birthday to Miss Bougie and everything. And tomorrow's Wednesday, so tomorrow I'm gonna throw down for Miss Bougie, and I'm gonna throw down for and tomorrow I'm gonna throw down for Miss Bougie. I'm gonna throw down for Caramel, and Saturday I gotta share my birthday with my homie, Leisha. You know, us Leo twins, you know how we do it. So Leisha's birthday is Saturday. So tomorrow I'm going to throw down for Leisha. I'm going to throw down for Caramel. I'm going to throw down for Miss Bougie tomorrow. All right? Saturday, I'm going to be somewhere. Wasted and twisted. I don't know what state I'm going to be in. I'm going to be honest with you. That's how crazy I think it's going to be for me. So I'm making sure that my sisters are good and before I take flight. Even though me and Leisha share the same birthday, but hey, I gotta make sure she good before I take flight. All right, let's get into this R.Kelly stuff. Yeah, baby, 77 watching, 44 likes, 10 dislikes. That means is an unequal number. 75 watching means an unequal number. So that means I got 54 people. That means I got, So that means I got 54 people. That means I got 22 people who's just watching. I need y'all to hit the like button or the dislike button. Y'all 22 who ain't hit nothing. But yeah, let's get this thing to 100 likes, y'all. Come on. Let's get it to 100 likes. Only thing I ask, if you are an enemy of mine and you want to come in here for a good dialogue, just be respectful in the chat. Just be respectful. That's all I ask. And you don't even got to like me. But just be respectful in the chat. And respect the Dream Team because this is our home. That's all I ask because we ain't coming in y'all home disrespecting y'all. So just respect us in our home. If not, my mods are superficial. And I'm not saying nothing. They will get you up out of here and put you back on the lawn. And if the mods hit you and zap you and put you on the lawn, you will be there forever. All right? I still need people to tell Deboski to unblock me on his channel. Damn, Debo, you supposed to unblock me, bro. Unblock him, bro. I want to see what he's saying. Unblock him, brother, Debo. Come on, Debo. Unblock him, brother. Come on, man. Frenchie. All right. So, hey, this is what we're going to do because this is about R.Kelly. You know, they like to run with the factor of, oh, he married Aaliyah at 15. Oh, he married Aaliyah at 15. He married Aaliyah at 13. He had sex with Aaliyah at 16. I need y'all to come up with a number and make it make sense. So I'm going to run back with what her cousin said. Okay? And then I'm going to let you hear what her cousin said. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. He ain't going to come directly out and say it. But you're going to have to read in between the lines. You're going to have to read in between the lines. And this proves that R. Kelly is being set up. All because he left. All because he left Blackground and started his own joint. Man, a setup of this magnitude is crazy. Now, I did go find everything I need to find. So let's get into what the motion states. Because when I say I'm on it, I'm on it. And when I say I'm not believing motions because I'm believing family, we're going to get there. All right, this right here is the unredacted. No, it's the redacted. I'm sorry. This is the redacted. Dear Judge Donnelly, the government respectfully submits this reply to the defendant's memorandum of law in opposition to the government's July the 23rd, 2021 motion in limine to admit certain evidence and preclude other evidence and arguments at trial hereinafter defendant opposition for the reasons stated herein and in the government's original memorandum. The motion should be granted. Evidence regarding victims' sexual behavior with one another, with anyone other than the defendant and others at his direction should not be admitted. Ooh. And this was filed under seal. Hmm. The defendant's response to the government's motion to preclude cross-examination or the introduction of evidence regarding victim sexual behavior with anyone other than the defendant or others at his direction is nonsensical, makes no effort to comply with the requirements of Federal Rule Evidence 412, and contradicts the very reasons of the rule's existence. First, to be clear, the government does not seek to preclude or limit cross-examination or evidence regarding the victim's sexual interactions with the defendant or with others at the defendant's direction. The government will elicit information from victims regarding sexual acts with the defendant and where applicable, with others at the defendant's direction. The defendant may, of course, cross-examine the victims as to such testimony. This does not mean, however, that he may stray into areas barred by Rule 412A, United States versus Thompson, which is a case law. Indeed, proving cases involving sexual misconduct necessarily requires the government to introduce evidence of the sexual behavior underlying crimes charged in the indictment. If the introduction of that evidence opened the door to the introduction of other sexual behavior, evidence Rule 412A would serve no purpose. Second, while the defendant claims that his opposition is submitted per Rule 412C1, noticing the intent of the defense to elicit certain relevant evidence, ID, at 2, he fails to comply with that rule. Rule 412 requires that, if a party intends to offer evidence under Rule 412B, the party must A, file a motion that specifically describes the evidence and states the purpose for which it is to be offered. B, do so at least 14 days before trial, unless the court, for good cause, sets a different time. C, serve the motion on all parties. D, notify the victim, or when appropriate, the victim's guardian or representative. Federal Rule Evidence 412C1, emphasis added. The defendant provides no such specific description. See defendant opposition at 2, indicating without any valid explanation that at this time the defense cannot catalog specific facts we intend to elicit. Instead, the defendant simply asserts that unspecified evidence of unspecified victims' sexual predisposition and behavior with others unrelated to the defendant is somehow relevant because some of the charges allege some form of coercion and or force on the defendant's part. Defendant opposition at 1. By its terms, however, Rule 412 applies to criminal proceedings involving alleged sexual misconduct, including those involving allegations of coercion or force. Federal Rule Evidence 412A, conclusory. Assertions that victims will purportedly open the door to such cross-examination and evidence and their direct testimony. Defense opposition at 2. Do not negate or alter the requirement that the defendant comply with Rule 412. Indeed, the unspecified general evidence the defendant apparently seeks to admit regarding victims' sexual histories is precisely the sort of evidence that Rule 412 was designed to preclude. As the Second Circuit has made clear, the very purpose of Rule 412 is to preclude defendants from arguing that because the victim previously consented to have sex, her claims of coercion should not be believed. United States versus Verrier. Nor does the exclusion of such unspecified evidence violate the defendant's constitutional rights. Although a criminal defendant has a right to present his version of the facts to the jury so it may decide where the truth lies, it does not follow that a criminal defendant has a right to offer evidence that is irrelevant to the government's charges. Thompson 178F. Case law. Evidence that a victim has engaged in sexual acts with others unrelated to the defendant does not make it more or less probable that the defendant used force or coercion to engage in sexual acts with any particular victim. Case law. Whether the victims engaged in acts of prostitution before or after their alleged encounters with the defendant would only prove other people may be guilty of similar offenses of recruiting, enticing, and or causing these victims to engage in a commercial sex act, citing United States versus Elbert. Nor has the defendant explained how a specific victim's sexual history is relevant to any alleged bias or credibility of that victim. Stop. Neither have y'all. So the prosecution hasn't specified how Robert's sexual history is relevant. Just like they trying to say that Robert team haven't explained how their sexual history is relevant to any alleged bias or credibility of that victim. So while the confrontation clause guarantees a criminal defendant the right to cross-examine government witnesses at trial, United States versus Figueroa, trial judges nonetheless retain wide latitude insofar as the confrontation clause is concerned to impose reasonable limits on such cross-examination based on concerns about, among other things, harassment, prejudice, confusion of the issues, the witnesses, safety, or interrogation that are repetitive or only marginally relevant. Case law. In this way, the confrontation clause guarantees an opportunity for effective cross-examination, not cross-examination that is effective in whatever way, and to whatever extent the defense might wish. Delaware versus Fenster case law. Exclusion of cross-examination regarding irrelevant sexual acts does not violate a defendant's Sixth Amendment right to confront witnesses at trial. Reveille, which is case law. Then you got Cephas, which is case law. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. All that's case law. Okay. All that's case law. Hold on. What are you beeping for? Oh. All right, sorry about that, y'all. I had to get my crab cakes. Together. Had to get my broccoli together. Okay. The defendant has made no attempt to specify what purported sexual behavior or sexual predator proposition he intends to elicit or cross-examine witnesses on, or coherently explain how such evidence is relevant. Indeed, he does not even specify which witnesses he intends to cross-examine about such matters. In these circumstances, the government's motion should be granted. Let's stop right there. How can he tell you who he's going to cross-examine if he don't even know the names of half the John Does? Can you make that make sense? That's how it was a blind side, because he don't know half the names. So how can he tell you who he's going to cross-examine if he really don't know the names of who they are? Now the government want to play games. The government does not seek to admit evidence of religious beliefs or experiences. As the court is aware, the government moved to preclude the defendant from cross-examining witness number one. What? As the court is aware, the government moved to preclude the defendant from cross-examining witness number one regarding his religious beliefs or experiences described in a book published by witness number one in 2011. So now that they don't want Robert discussing or cross-examining Demetrius about what's in the book. That's crazy. So now Robert can't cross-examine him, or Robert's team can't cross-examine him about what happened in the book. Nor can he cross-examine his religious beliefs. Make that make sense. See motion at 5 through 8. In his opposition, the defendant has apparently misconstrued the government's motion as one that seeks admission of testimony from witness number one regarding his religious experiences and the defendant sounding demonic. Defendant opposition at 4. The government has no intention of eliciting any such testimony. As a result, the defendant should be precluded from cross-examining witnesses. As a result, the defendant should be precluded from cross-examining witness number one regarding these matters for the reasons set forth in the government's motion. 3. The defendant should not be permitted to reference prior psychological histories. Wow. Are you serious? 4. The defendant should be precluded from making legally irrelevant and prejudicial arguments regarding the parents of certain victims. Huh? This gotta be a joke. The government moved to preclude cross-examination and the introduction of evidence or argument. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Hold on for a second. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. 1, 2. You good. Hello. All right, I'm back. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Hold on. 2. Okay. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. I don't know what just happened, but hey. All right, 2, 3. Okay, I'm back. All right. All right. My bad about that. I had to take that call. All right. Had to take the call. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Tell me if you can hear me. Oh, yeah. Tell me if you can hear me. All right, good. Okay. The government moved to preclude cross-examination and the introduction of evidence or argument that parents of any victims consented to the defendants having sex with those victims while they were underage. The defendant appears to concede that any such alleged consent is not a defense to the charges. Instead, he argues that the conduct of the parents in allegedly seeking to profit from or extort the defendant is relevant because, presumably, the government intends to elicit testimony from the witnesses regarding a lack of access to their parents or the coercion that the parents demonstrated from the witnesses or actions that the parents made a connect to a child. Defendant opposition to 6. The government does not intend to elicit from its witnesses any testimony regarding their parents, concerns from them, or actions the parents took to connect with their children. The government will, however, elicit testimony regarding the defendant's efforts to monitor and otherwise limit Jane Doe number 5's communications with her parents. What? Such testimony regarding the defendant's actions does not render the conduct of any parent of a victim legally relevant to the charges at issue. As a result, the motion should be granted. Evidence regarding specific instances of the defendant's good conduct should be precluded. And opposing the government's motion to preclude the admission and evidence of prior instances of the defendant's good conduct, including awards and honors received in connection with his career as an entertainer, the defendant mischaracterizes the breadth of the government's motion. Contrary to the defendant's assertions, the government does not seek to preclude background testimony by the defendant, should he choose to testify, regarding his employment or personal circumstances, nor does the government seek to preclude the defendant from offering evidence of the defendant's patented character trait, pursuant to Federal Reserve Evidence 404A2A. Instead, the government's motion relates to the manner in which such evidence may be admitted
and seeks to preclude the admission of evidence regarding specific instances of the defendant's prior good conduct, i.e., specific prior good acts, such as testimony or evidence regarding specific awards or honors received in the course of the defendant's career or employment, or specific acts of charity. Rule 405 basically sets forth the manner in which a person's character or character trait were admissible, may be proved, and limits the manner of proof to testimony about the person's reputation or by testimony in the form of an opinion. Federal Reserve Evidence 405A, Rule 405B, further makes clear that evidence of relevant specific instances of a person's conduct may only be used to prove a person's character or character trait when the character or character trait is an essential element of a charge. Hold on. Hold on. By reputation or opinion, testimony, not specific prior good acts. See case law. Moreover, as the Second Circuit has made clear, a defendant cannot simply claim that specific good deeds should be admitted to disprove knowledge or intention, which are elements of most crimes, because to do so would make the exception of Rule 405B swallow the general rule of 405A, that proof of specific acts is not allowed. United States versus Doyle. The defendant's reliance on United States versus Hand, which is a case law, is therefore inapposite. While affirming the conviction in Hand, the Second Circuit found harmless error in the district court's exclusion of testimony as to the defendant's reputation as a law-abiding citizen who does not exploit others. That's a case law. Similarity to character evidence at issue in United States versus Pujama Mina consisted of testimony about the defendant's reputation in his community as an honest and law-abiding person, not any specific prior good acts. Evidence of such specific prior good conduct should be precluded. Evidence regarding Jane Doe number 8's subsequent employment is irrelevant. In his opposition, the defendant makes absolutely no showing that Jane Doe number 8's employment as an exotic dancer years after the defendant had sexual intercourse with her when she was 17 years old is at all relevant, nor could he. Instead, he simply states, hold on. Nor could he. Instead, he simply states without any explanation that her subsequent employment is admissible for proving motive, opportunity, intent, preparation, plan, knowledge, identity, absence of mistake, or lack of accident. Defendant opposition at 9. Absent any showing of relevance, the government's motion should be granted. Certain text messages by Jane Doe number 5 and relating to Jane Doe number 5 should be admitted. The defendant summarily asserts that from a planned reading of the text messages the government seeks to admit, the messages would open the door to the very same evidence that the government is attempting to preclude, and asks that the court allow the defense latitude and cross-examination to explore the many topics included in the text messages, such as sexual behavior, psychological issues, and certain actions of witnesses' parents. Defense opposition at 10. In so saying, the government assumes that the defendant is referring to the text messages between Jane Doe number 5 and Jane Doe number 5's mother, and not other text messages the government seeks to admit. Even if so, the defendant has not explained and cannot explain how those text messages open any door to cross-examination. Rather, the text messages show only that Jane Doe number 5 recounted to her mother nearly in real time statements of the defendants, as Jane Doe number 5 will testify. I got a question. Jane Doe number 8, Cunningham. I got a question. So you don't want him to cross-examine nothing that Azriel say? That's weird to me. Hold on. Hold on. So you don't want him to cross-examine nothing that Azriel say, and text messages or nothing. You just want him to sit there and listen and don't say nothing. Where they do that at? And then you say Jane Doe number 5 will testify. So I wonder, is this the avenue that Angelo was talking about when he said he's prepared for his daughter to go to jail? Because she went under oath saying that R.Kelly ain't never make her do nothing crazy. And now she's going to come out and say something different? That's perjury. That's perjury. And they don't want them to say nothing about her illness. Nah, we can't let that rock, y'all. We can't let that rock. The defendant suggests that prior consistent statements are admissible only to rebut a recent motive of fabrication, and not simply to rehabilitate a witness. So now you want him to rehabilitate Azriel. Why? When she was with him, she was happy. Make it make sense. He is wrong. As an initial matter, he ignores that prior consistent statements are expressly permitted to rebut and express or implied charge that the declarant acted from a recent improper influence or motive in so testifying. Wow. So now they're trying to say that he influenced her and gave her motive. Moreover, the defendant neglects to mention that Rule 801D1B was amended in 2014 expressly permitting prior consistent statements for the purpose of rehabilitation where a witness's credibility was attacked. Excuse me. That's a case law right there. Adding that prior consistent statements are admissible to rehabilitate the declarant's credibility as a witness when attacked on another ground. And therefore, the case law cited by the defendant all before the amendment is an opposite. Oh, the court should admit Jane Doe's number 5 electronic note. What? The government seeks to admit an electronic note written by Jane Doe number 5 on August 30th, 2018 that contains the defendant's statements to her. See motive at 34 to 35. Jane Doe number 5 will testify regarding the circumstances of those statements and the note. As indicated in the motion, the defendant's statements as contained in the note are highly probative of the defendant's commission of the forced labor offense as to Jane Doe number 5. I told y'all that. I told y'all that the forced labor was for Jane Doe number 5 and not number 6. But once again, I was told that I was lying, but now you see it right here. And I'm going to read it again. As indicated in the motion, the defendant's statements as contained in the note are highly probative of the defendant's commission of the forced labor offense as to Jane Doe number 5. The value of such highly probative evidence is not substantially outweighed by a danger of unfair prejudice. Case law. Indeed, it is direct evidence of the crime. See United States versus R.Kelly. Noting that for evidence to be unfairly prejudiced under Rule 403, it must tend to have some adverse effect upon a defendant beyond tending to prove the fact or issue that justified its admission into evidence. The admission of certain newspaper article is warranted under Rule 803.16. Wait a minute, this is BuzzFeed. As clearly set forth in this motion, the government seeks to admit newspaper articles from 1994 for the following purposes: to show that 1. The defendant performed in Macon, Georgia on August the 30th, 1994, and Albany, Georgia on August 31st, 1994, and in Miami, Florida on September the 2nd, 1994, and 2. Witness number 1 was in fact the defendant's tour manager on August 31st, 1994. There is nothing circular or confusing about the intended use of such articles. Defense opposite at 12. Such evidence is relevant for the reasons stated in the government's motion and is admissible pursuant to Federal Rule Evidence 803.16 and 902.6. Wait a minute. Sealing. The government requests that the court permit the government to file both a sealed and a redacted public version of this motion. The redacted version will redact certain content from the publicity file version of this motion that details medical and other private matters of certain witnesses. See United States versus Amadeo. Conclusion. For the reasons said above and in the government's July 23rd, 2021 memorandum, the government motion in limine should be granted. Okay. All right. Okay. So now we know that Azriel is testifying, and they don't want Azriel cross-examined, nor do they want Javante cross-examined. But why? If you want to testify, why not get cross-examined? And then they said that they don't want Robert and his team cross-examining Demetrius Smith, which is witness number 1. But certain people put on their pages, the Aaliyah thing popped up because of Kip. Now we see it wasn't because of Kip, it was because of Demetrius Smith's book. But wait. I got something to show you. I told y'all earlier, pay close attention. Now, you're reading it for yourself, right? It says Jomo Hankerson quietly exposes that R.Kelly and Aaliyah were never married. It was for record sales, and Daryl McDavid and Barry Hankerson had a fake marriage certificate made and used it for underage girl blackmail on R.Kelly. Hashtag use your common sense. Now, I want y'all to hear it for yourself. In Jomo words.
She really did. And, you know, her life is now about to be put on the small screen.
And everybody's not happy with that. And in the studio, and he doesn't do interviews. And when he came in and sat on the sofa.
I know, right?
He sat on the sofa because he's like, I'm used to sitting on the sofa because that's not my thing. But Jomo Hankerson, who is a cousin and the president of Aaliyah's Blackground Records, is speaking out. Why did you first of all, thanks for coming on the show, man. We know you got a lot of stuff going on.
Thanks for having me.
Now, why did you decide, and why are people so mad about Lifetime doing this movie?
Well, we feel like it's really not the right platform. Aaliyah was a legend. She was a hugely influential artist on our culture.
Right.
You still see it. Drake talks about how much influence she had. 7th Streeter, her first single, was very reminiscent of Rock the Boat. So she's still having an effect on music right now. And I think that she deserves the treatment of a Walk the Line or a What's Love Got to Do with It, a big major movie that
So a major
becomes part
movie
of
picture, right?
the culture as well. You know, we quote lines from Walk the Line. We should quote lines from Aaliyah's life story.
And so when you guys heard about this picture, like how did you hear about it? It was like a Hollywood report.
We saw the press release like a lot of people did. You know, me and at Blackground, we released all of Aaliyah's albums, and so we controlled the masters for the entire catalog. So when we saw the movie coming, no one had come to us for any music, and then we found out that they were recutting 4 songs that they did a deal with the publishing companies on. So, you know, to me, that's like crazy. Somebody
wait, hold on. Okay, because I'm confused, and I've been
over.
Okay, recutting.
Yes.
How do they do? How does that work?
Well, we control the actual master, so that's the song with Aaliyah on it.
Right.
But on our publishing company, also Static wrote a lot of the songs, and he was one of our writers. So we also control a lot of the publishing, but not all of it.
Right.
The Timbaland and Missy stuff, Warner Chappell controls that. So they were able to kind of do a deal saying they were doing something for Lifetime to license the records for that, and that's how they're able to recut those records.
All right, we're going to come back, and we're going to ask you about people trying to use verses and putting that on songs and your feelings about that, and some other stuff that's coming up, all right? 8:45 right now. We got more coming up. 9:12 right now, streaming live at watchbreview.com. In the studio, we have Jomo Hankerson, family member for Aaliyah and president of Blackground Records. Has not done an interview in 14 years.
Wow.
That's how serious he is about this picture being made.
I know.
Okay, but you know what, Jomo, the question that keeps coming up and what's making all of the rounds is this whole relationship with R.Kelly. And you said it off air that, you know, you managed R.Kelly with your company for how many years?
14.
For 14 years. And obviously Lifetime is using this to help pre-promote this movie.
Yeah.
How do you explain all of this controversy? Because you said when Aaliyah was on top of the world and then this happened, did they get married?
Well, I'll let that come out in the movie. It won't be in this movie, but it'll come out eventually one day.
14 years.
Wow.
14 years. And you've never done this. I remember talking about it on the radio.
You know what it is, Ryan? It is not my place or the forum for me to really get into that.
Okay.
So that's why I just beg off that.
Why was it such a big deal, you think, for the public? Because even nowadays, it's still controversial.
Yeah.
We think about that. That's like one of the things we think about when we think of her.
Yeah, absolutely. It was at the time, she was huge, he was huge.
Right.
You had Biggie,
the business,
and Faith were together.
It
was a lot of things going on like that in the business at that time. So I think it was just indicative of the times.
The chemistry too.
Yeah, absolutely. When you hear that first album, it was obviously a lot of creative chemistry on that record. So
I mean, but when people go back and they start,
what was surprising to me is really how after it all came out, it was really kind of like Aaliyah got villainized somehow.
yeah, she got blamed.
That's true.
Yeah, and that's
right.
the part that I never understood. That was really the biggest part that I never understood, and that's what made the transition to the second album very difficult. We were coming off of a multi-platinum debut album, and except for a few relationships with Jermaine Dupri and Puffy, it was hard for us to get producers.
So do you think y'all had been blackballed once people started?
It felt like it. That's what it felt like, and never understood that. She was 16 at the time, 16, 17 at the time we were cutting that second album, and I just
People
didn't
were
understand why they were upset with Baby Girl.
Wow. I remember that.
But when you say like when y'all are going out and trying to do the second album, were people like not taking the calls?
Yeah, it was not taking the calls, begging off of producing, even demoing. It was tough to get name guys to get in the studio, because the first question was, well, is R.Kelly going to do something on the record? And when we would go no, it was like, okay, well, we'll hit you back.
So why did they want R.Kelly to be on it?
That's what I was gonna say.
Maybe to juice up their publishing. Maybe they felt like it wasn't going to be much of a project if he wasn't crafting the material. What was surprising to me is really how after it all came out, it was really kind of like Aaliyah got I let that come out in the movie. It won't be in this movie, but it'll come out eventually one day.
14 years.
Wow.
14 years. And you've never done this. I remember talking about it on the radio.
You know what it is, Ryan? It is not my place or the forum for me to really get into that.
Okay.
So that's why I just beg off that.
Why was it such a big deal, you think, for the public? Because even now, even nowadays, it's still controversial.
Yeah.
We think about that. That's like one of the things we think about when we think of her.
Yeah, absolutely. It was at the time, she was huge, he was huge.
Right.
You had Biggie,
the business,
and Faith were together.
Right.
It was a lot of things going on like that in the business at that time. So I think it was just indicative of the times.
The chemistry too.
Yeah, absolutely. When you hear that first album, it was obviously a lot of creative chemistry on that record. So,
I mean, but when people go back and they start,
what was surprising to me is really how after it all came out, it was really kind of like Aaliyah got villainized somehow.
yeah, she got blamed.
That's true.
Yeah, and that's
right.
the part that I never understood. That was really the biggest part that I never understood, and that's what made the transition to the second album very difficult. We were coming off of a multi-platinum debut album, and except for a few relationships with Jermaine Dupri and Puffy, it was hard for us to get producers.
Wow.
So do you think y'all like had been blackballed once people started?
It felt like it. That's what it felt like, and never understood that. You know, she was 16 at the time, 16, 17 at the time we were cutting that second album. And I just
People
didn't
were
understand why they were upset with Baby Girl.
Wow. I remember that.
But when you say like when y'all are going out and trying to do the second album, were people like not taking the calls?
Yeah, it was not taking the calls, begging off of producing, even demoing. You know, it was tough to get name guys to get in the studio, because the first question was, well, is R.Kelly going to do something on the record? And when we would go no, it was like, okay, well, we'll hit you back.
So why did they want R.Kelly to be on it?
That's what I was gonna say.
Maybe to juice up their publishing. Maybe they felt like it wasn't going to be much of a project if he wasn't crafting the material.
And the impact, I mean, that she was having, you know, with the movies and the style trend she was setting with the, you know, the
Yeah, it was not taking the calls, begging off of producing, even demoing. You know, it was tough to get name guys to get in the studio, because the first question was, well, is R.Kelly going to do something on the record? And when we would go no, it was like, okay, well, we'll hit you back.
So why did they want R.Kelly to be on it?
That's what I was gonna say.
Maybe to juice up their publishing. Maybe they felt like it wasn't going to be much of a project if he wasn't crafting the material.
And the impact, I mean, that she was having, you know, with the movies and the style trend she was setting with the, you know, the brief showing and the baggy. I mean, she was a style setter and a trend setter too.
Trendsetter, absolutely. You know, she was the litmus test that you look for in a female artist. After they do a video or they come out with some visuals, do the young girls copy what they're doing?
Right.
And she set the agenda for,
I agree,
you know, nearly a decade of her career.
Do you get to hear from, I know her relationship with Missy Elliott was really, really a good relationship. Like, that was Missy's girl.
Yeah.
Do y'all get to hear from Missy often?
Not, you know, over the years, not as often as you would like, but yeah, me and Missy are really cool, and everything is beautiful.
Is she doing fine?
Oh, Missy's doing great. I think she's working on a new record or like that. I think her and Timbaland are back in the studio.
Okay.
All the compilations that we've heard and people trying to, you know, the Chris Brown and the Drake.
Because the first question was, well, is R.Kelly going to do something on the record? And when we would go no. What was surprising to me is really how after it all came out, it was really kind of like Aaliyah got villainized somehow.
Yeah, she got blamed.
That's true.
Yeah, and that's
right.
the part that I never understood. That was really the biggest part that I never understood. And that's what made the transition to the second album very difficult. We were coming off of a multi-platinum debut album, and you know, except for a few relationships with Jermaine Dupri and Puffy, it was hard for us to get producers.
Wow.
So do you think y'all like had been blackballed once people started?
It felt like it. That's what it felt like, and never understood that. You know, she was 16 at the time, 16, 17 at the time we were cutting that second album, and I just
People
didn't
were
understand why they were upset with Baby Girl.
Wow. I remember that.
But when you say like when y'all are going out and trying to do the second album, were people like not taking the calls?
Yeah, it was not taking the calls, begging off of producing, even demoing. You know, it was tough to get name guys to get in the studio, because the first question was, well, is R.Kelly going to do something on the record? And when we would go no, it was like, okay, well, we'll hit you back.
So why did they want R.Kelly to be on it?
That's what I was gonna say.
Maybe to juice up their publishing. Maybe they felt like it wasn't going to be much of a project if he wasn't crafting the material.
And the impact, I mean, that she was having, you know, with the movies and the style trend she was setting with the, you know, the brief showing and the baggy. I mean, she was a style setter and a trend setter too.
Trendsetter, absolutely. You know, she was the litmus test that you look for in a female artist. After they do a video or they come out with some visuals, do the young girls copy what they're doing?
Right.
And she set the agenda for,
I agree,
you know, nearly a decade of her career.
Do you get to hear from, I know her relationship with Missy Elliott was really, really a good relationship. Like, that was Missy's girl.
Yeah.
Do y'all get to hear from
My bad.
I let that come out in the movie. It won't be in this movie, but it'll come eventually one day. 14 off air that, you know, you managed R.Kelly with your company for how many years? 14. For 14 years. And they, I mean, obviously Lifetime is using this to help promote this movie. Yeah. How do you explain all of this controversy? Because you said when Aaliyah was on top of the world and then this happened, did they get married? Well, I let that come out in the movie. It won't be in this movie, but it'll come eventually one day. 14 years. 14 years, and you've never done this. I remember talking about it on the radio. You know what it is, Ryan? It's not my place or the forum for me to really get into that. Okay. So that's why I just beg off that. Why is it such a big deal, you think, for the public? Because even nowadays, it's still controversial. Yeah. We think about that. That's like one of the things we think about when we think of her. Yeah, absolutely. It was at the time.
Can I get 17 more likes?
She was huge. He was huge. You had Biggie Business and Faith were together. Right. There was a lot of things going on like that.
Listeners,
it's not my place or the forum for me to really get into that. Okay. So that's why I just beg off that. Why is it such a big deal, you think, for the public? Because even nowadays, it's still controversial. Yeah. We think about that. That's like
I thank you for
one of the things we think about when we think of her. Yeah, absolutely. It was at the time. She was huge. He was huge. You had Biggie Business and Faith were together. Right. There was a lot of things going on like that in the business at that time. So I think it was just indicative of the times. The chemistry too. Yeah, absolutely. When you hear that first album, there was obviously a lot of creative chemistry on that record. So. I mean, but you know, when people go back and they what was surprising to me is really how after it all came out, it was really kind of like Aaliyah got villainized somehow. Yeah, she got blamed. Yeah, and that's the part that I never understood. That was really the biggest part that I never understood, and that's what made the transition to the second album very difficult. We were coming off of a multi-platinum debut album, and you know, except for a few relationships with Jermaine Dupri and Puffy, it was hard for us to get producers. So you think y'all had been blackballed once people started? It felt like it. That's what it felt like, and never understood that. You know, she was 16 at the time, 16, 17 at the time we were cutting that second album, and I just didn't understand why they were upset with that. I remember that. But when you say like when y'all going out and trying to do the second album, were people like not taking the calls? Yeah, it was not taking the calls, begging off of producing, even demoing. You know, it was tough to get main guys to get in the studio because the first question was, well, is R.Kelly going to do something on the record? And when we would go no, it was like, okay, well we'll hit you back. So why did they want R.Kelly to be on it? Maybe to juice up their publishing. Maybe they felt like it wasn't going to be much of a project if he wasn't crafting the material. And the impact, I mean, that she was having, you know, with the movies and the style trend she was setting with the, you know, the brief showing and I mean, she was a style setter and a trend setter. Trendsetter, absolutely. You know, she was the litmus test that you look for in a female artist. After they do a video or they come out with some visuals, do the young girls copy what they're doing? Right. And she set the agenda for, you know, nearly a decade of her career.
Do you get to hear from, I know her relationship with Missy Elliott was really a good relationship. Like, that was Missy's girl. Yeah. Do y'all get to hear from Missy often?
Not, you know, over the years, not as often as you would like, but yeah, me and Missy are really cool, and everything is beautiful.
Is she doing fine?
Oh, Missy's doing great. I think she's working on a new record like that. I think her and Timbaland are back in the studio. Okay. All the compilations that we've heard, and people trying to, you know, the Chris Brown and the Drake and all that. Well, what's your thoughts on all that? I mean,
I like the Chris Brown record. I thought that was the one that did the most justice. But what do you rank all those?
Well, I like the Chris record. I really like the Drake record. You know, for me, what people don't really know, because, you know, in the media age that we're in, Aaliyah always worked with a lot of producers and songwriters. Really, a cat named Static Major, who passed away in 2008, he did Lollipop with Lil Wayne. He wrote probably more of the hits than Missy actually did. Missy was very prevalent on the second album, but Are You That Somebody, Static wrote. Try Again, Static wrote. More Than a Woman, Rock the Boat. So Static was a huge creative force with Aaliyah that everybody don't know. So this idea that on the second album there was probably Jermaine Dupri was on that record, Puffy was on that record, Vincent Herbert executive produced that record with me. So Aaliyah always worked with a lot of producers and collaborators.
We got to go to break.
Missy and Timbaland just got the headlines.
I'll just ask you a couple of things before we go to break and let you go. Do you think that you guys will try to do your own film? Is it in the works to try to raise the capital to bring it to a major studio and produce it? And if so, how do you think that will happen and how soon?
Well, obviously, if we hadn't done that to this point because we didn't get the high sign from Rashad and Diane to do something like that yet. And
for people who don't know, tell them.
That's my aunt and my cousin. So that's why we hadn't already.
That's Aaliyah's mother.
Yes. And brother.
Right.
So the reason why we hadn't done something is because we hadn't had that conversation with them. Okay. This Lifetime thing kind of came out of the blue, and you know we saw it when the press release like everybody else did. I think going forward, we will definitely have that conversation because I do think that notwithstanding whatever they do, I know there's going to be things that they don't cover because they just don't have the knowledge to cover it.
And you know, Zendaya, who's been on the show, who's a sweet girl, is getting a lot of backlash from people.
No.
You know, what do you think about her being in this part? And if not her, who do you think would be the most likely person you say, okay, now I can see her playing Aaliyah?
You know, first of all, Aaliyah went through a similar situation after the R.Kelly thing. So I hate to see a young woman go through the kind of backlash that she's getting out there. It's not, you know, she's trying to get a job and work. It's not her.
Right.
Our problem is with Lifetime and the way they did the project. And again, like I said at the beginning, the platform. I just think this needs to be in theaters. This needs to be a movie.
Who would you choose if you could choose someone?
I would love to get Zoe Saldana. I can't ever say her name, but I think she could pull off the acting part, and she's obviously gorgeous and beautiful.
I'm gonna stop this here, and I'm gonna say this: Prima just hit something on the head. Now, I'm not gonna get monetized for this because I'm about to show this. It's an article out that says Static Major was secretly in a relationship with Aaliyah. I'm going to show you where they got that from. Now, Leah's not here to refute that, right? And I'm going to tell you this. I believe they got rid of Static Major because Static wouldn't play by the rules of Barry Hankerson. Now, I just showed y'all where that could have came from. Right?
We should quote lines from Aaliyah's life story.
And so when you guys heard about
the culture as well. You know, we quote lines from Walk the Line. We should quote lines from Aaliyah's life story.
And so when you guys heard about this picture, like, how did you hear about it? It was like a.
So pretty much, Lifetime been trying to extort the Hortons for a while because they didn't have no type of license to bring out the Aaliyah story. And the movie that Jomo is talking about is not the movie that y'all seen on Lifetime. Jomo and them is actually, they about to really start shooting, I think it's in October, the Aaliyah story. And this clip that I was playing, Jomo tells you just how evil Lifetime is. They actually took Aaliyah vocals off and had that young lady singing Aaliyah vocals, or singing as it was Aaliyah. Prima Donna put this link up. The Source 2021 611 Aaliyah biography. Yep. So y'all can hit that link, y'all. And let me see something. Upcoming Aaliyah biography reportedly reveals she secretly dated Static Major. So I'm gonna ask this question: If she secretly dated Static Major, where did R.Kelly fit in that as dating her at? Call in. I want to hear from y'all. 678-545-2955. 678-545-2955. I want to hear from y'all. Call in 678-545-2955. Prima Donna in the house, Shawnee in the house, Georgia Girl EJ in the house, Nikki M in the house, Willie's in the house. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear from y'all. You're live on the DanaJay show. How can I help you, caller?
Hey, Dana, it's Monty, Dana.
Monty, what's up, brother?
Yo, what's up, man? Hey, I just got a little statement and I got a question for you.
State your question.
Right. Well, let me say the statement first. What it looks like to me, right? Throw some of R.Kelly's money, or basically all of it, and they're tying his hands to the questions his lawyer can ask certain people. Or they can't even ask people. They want them to not even be able to ask people questions.
Right.
Now, with that, how can you then in turn say you're giving him a fair try?
Facts.
Okay, now, here's my questions. And I'm going to use Geronda Peace and State Rogers. Okay, with Geronda Peace, she had a friend who was with her when she first went to Olympia Fields and couldn't get in. She didn't have an ID. Okay, so then with Faith, you had Tim Savage being recorded saying she was fucking lying. And he had it on tape that she was fucking lying. Okay, so now, if we see this, how is it that the state is not seeing the people who can refute some of this bullshit evidence that they claim they have?
No cussing, Monty.
Good faith, put them on the stand.
And because the federal government don't want to see it. Their job is to prove R. Kelly is guilty. They don't want to prove that R. Kelly is innocent.
Okay, now, so let me ask you this. Would it be hearsay if his lawyers try to bring in some of the things some of these motherfuckers say?
No cussing, Monty.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So what you say?
I didn't mean that.
You good?
But would it be? So it wouldn't be hearsay.
Say that again. Say that question. Say that statement again.
Okay, so what I was saying was, if you have people that refute what is
Well, that's a good question. That's a good question. That's a good question. But I will say this: the government don't want. The government don't want people to know anything. The government, the government don't want people to know the truth. They want a conviction because if they can convict R. Kelly, right, and because if they can convict R. Kelly, they can convict a lot of other people too.
Yes. Now, my last thing, and I'm gonna get off here, is with these witnesses. How does the state not see? Because they're trying to bring in people who say that they was witnesses to the witnesses that are going to be Jane Doe's. So it's basically, if I say to you, Dana, I'm going to say Mary J. Blige molested me 7 years ago. And what I need you to do is I need you to say, I told you 5 years ago. And we're going to get a bag. And is that all it takes, Dana?
Well, that's the way it looked, but I'm going to say this to you. Remember I told y'all they're going to drop the Chicago case and they're going to double up victims?
Yeah.
And remember I said it a while back and everybody was like, oh, Dana don't know what he's talking about?
Yeah, of course.
Why the Chicago case have been vacated and now you see 20 Jane Does in New York?
Yeah, but that's like you said, though. If it didn't happen in New York, how can you bring it in the courtroom?
You can't. Not legally. You only can prosecute whatever happened in your jurisdiction.
Right. And it seems to me that this whole case, man, is built on Jane Doe number 5. And we know what that is. I'm just not trying to say
I told everybody that, but nobody wanted to listen.
It's like everything she said they're taken as gospel. But there's holes everywhere.
You want me to tell you why?
Huh?
You want me to tell you why?
Why?
Because they looking at it like she was living there. She can't be lying. She know what's going on.
Wow. But now listen to this, and I'm really gonna get off after this. I heard a video of Larry. Even though he can't defend himself, but I heard a video of him saying, Azriel was at my house, and she had 3 of R.Kelly's phones. So my thing to you is, if she was in possession of them phones and then took them to Larry and Angelo, because Larry then said, what's in those phones? He's guilty of everything they're charging him with. Then that means he's seen who was in them phones. Even if there was anything in the phones.
It don't take a rocket scientist. It don't take a rocket scientist to see that.
So then that means that evidence is tainted.
Like I said earlier.
Came off them phones is tainted, right?
Like I said earlier, if Angelo or Larry seen any of that, and both of them had said that they had, chain of custody has been broken. So therefore, you can't use none of that, nor none of what she say in court.
Right. So now that's the reason why they don't want the parents' questions. Questionable stuff, and they don't want to show the how illegal he was.
I totally agree with you on everything you said.
Same thing.
I totally agree with you on everything that you're saying. I'm not disputing nothing.
So let me ask you this. Why is it that Tim Savage pushed this whole agenda? Oh, I got to get my daughter. But then his daughter was of age, and she's not in none of the paperwork. And none of his story is in the paperwork. So why then did they let him push this story?
But let me ask you this question. Is his story not still being pushed?
Yes, it is.
By who?
Like Tim.
Huh?
Like Tim. I mean, they quieted it down some.
No. Who is Tim Savage's story being pushed by right now?
Oh, that I don't know.
Angelo.
Well, I only watch you, Dan. I don't watch nothing that dude does.
Okay, yeah. Angelo pushes the narrative.
I don't watch nobody but you, my man.
And the whole narrative is they want to get Robert by any way necessary.
Right. Now, are they gonna let him? All right. Let me just ask you this: if they got people coming out the woodwork from 1994, my first thing is, why didn't they bring this up in the 2008 trial? And then two, you're bringing up stuff from 1994 to try to say these are bad act witnesses. You could get anybody to say anything, especially if you bet them off. You're not gonna go to. I'm gonna lock you up unless you say this. So of course you got people soft like Mr. Hustle there, Don Hustle. You got people like him. He's gonna save his own butt. He don't care about R.Kelly. He don't care nothing about R.Kelly. I mean, he tried to get everything he can from him, and like you said, who benefits if Rob stay in jail? So we all know that. But my issue is you're taking words of convicted criminals, people who is proven they was trying to extort people, like Lisa Van Allen, and you're using their testimony. Now, I don't understand how you're supposed to be the federal government. You're supposed to be fair and unbiased. So I'm done, but that's what I have to say, Dana.
I'm gonna say this. You're on it.
I'm trying to be, man. I'm trying to be. And I'm gonna stop calling in more, man, when you put up the number.
I told you, call in.
All right, man, but you keep doing what you're doing and bringing that information, man, because, you know, we need it, man. We need it. If people need to start standing up, and even if they don't want to fight for R.Kelly, fight for what's right.
That's all I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying?
That's all I'm saying. Fight for what's right.
Fight for what's right. That's it. And I don't know. But anyway, all right, Dan, I'm going to let you go so somebody else can call in.
Okay.
Well,
all right.
Later, my dude.
Okay.
All right.
Anybody else want to call in? Call in. The call-in number right there on the screen, 678-545-2955. I want to hear from you. Call in. I want to hear from you. He is presumed guilty by everyone. Let me see. He is presumed guilty by everyone in that courtroom. Kells has to prove his innocence in every instance. I agree. If you want to call in 678-545-2955. Call in 678 545-2955. The entire trial case is scripted. There are too many laws being broken and dismissed. The judicial system has failed, Mr. Kelly. I totally agree. Look, so nobody want to call in? Okay, cool. I thank Monty for calling in. I thank everybody that sent cash apps and super chats earlier today and today. Look, we only gonna go forward. We only pressing forward. We only going ham. Y'all be blessed. That's gonna conclude this live. But y'all be blessed. Like I say, if y'all have anything, do your research on it and all that. But you don't have to be great to get started. You have to get started to be great. Be someone important. Be yourself. Elephants don't swat flies. Jets fly over turbulence. Be someone important. Be yourself. Until next time, DanaJay gone. All right? Peace.
Say it later, what you gonna do?